All right. Well, welcome to Outdated and Uneducated Week 5 preview show. And we also have an ID special, IDP League special. We have a special guest with us. Welcome, Con, FF _ son, coming to us from Australia, right?
Yeah, Sydney, Australia. It's currently
Perfect.
2 p.m. here, so
hot. It's the heat of the day. You're getting a break from it, right?
pretty much. Yeah, it's about 30 degrees today in spring,
Oof.
so it's
Wow.
it's lovely weather.
And we talked earlier, you're kind of on lockdown, so thankfully you have a beach close by, right?
Yeah, so in the heart of Sydney, we can only travel at the moment 5 kilometres from home. Hopefully that will open up soon. But yeah, we're just fortunate enough to have a nice beach area that we can take our family down to and spend a bit of time there.
And obviously we're going to spend a little bit of time here, and I am the IDP League kind of 101 guy. So I'm we're definitely glad to have you here. And obviously my co-host here, Uneducated Takes, he is quite into IDP. So obviously he was pretty excited.
Oh yeah, that's every year my big money leagues are at least one or two $100+ IDP leagues. So I'm excited to find a friend in the IDP world.
So just, obviously for those who haven't done it before, like me, IDP is individual defensive players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Correct,
and then they get stats for, it's the same way you could do PPR, points per tackle, the same way you get points for interceptions, sacks, and there's a lot of different it evens out the game really nicely, I find, right? Like this week I played against Tyreek Hill in my IDP league, but, and yeah, he put up a 40 burger on me, but it's a 20-man roster, so, you got to have it's not just one player going to make or break you every week, so it's really nice. It evens it out. It makes you, it's more of a thinking man's game. Little bit less luck. Still mostly luck, but a little bit less.
Yeah. So kind of going into... Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, if you go in dynasty mode for IDP, and you play a mixture of rosters, so offense and IDP, in this dynasty mode, you can have someone with a very strong offensive roster for dynasty. And in some leagues, if you have a sack bonus or tackle stat bonus or pass defended, intercepts, etc., it really, if you stream really well through the weeks, you balance the rosters out. So on any given week, an underdog can really, beat somebody that's got a very strong roster.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that waiver wire and free agency being even more important, right? Because there are dozens and dozens of good linebackers, defensive linemen who come up behind someone who's hurt. So this is the type of league where you got to be on the league, right? You got to be looking for where's the opportunity, and you can find good players all season long, week 1 to week 17, no problem. If you're good on, not even on the waiver wire. Waiver wires are great, but free agency even is really where I make my bread anyway in IDP.
Correct.
So kind of going back to some of the basics, knowing your scoring system. What we talked a little bit earlier. What scoring system do you use and do you kind of favor with IDP?
Look, so for me, I definitely favor the sacks. So your dual positions in sleeper league, if you're playing with that, your players like TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, for example, these are the guys that are going to get behind the line of scrimmage, hit the quarterback. They're the ones that are going to get you your bonus scores. So if you go on sack leagues, look definitely for what your DE linesman will get you, okay? Because that makes a huge difference on where you're going to draft. You're not going to draft a linebacker where, as Cooper was saying before, if you're in a 1.5 solo tackle league, they're the ones you probably want to look at. But for me, I definitely look at sack points and who's going to get me those points.
That's nice. And what round? This is my favorite question for IDP. What round do you break defense usually? Just on average, right? You got to let the draft fall to you. Like anyone out there, don't go in with a specific strategy. Let the value fall to you. But where do you normally like to break defensive player in the draft?
Yeah, look, that's a very good question, and you can kind of, based on what your roster sizes are. So let's just say, for example, if you got a mixture league again, offense and defense, IDP, 2 quarterback league, you're probably looking at a TJ Watt around round 6, round 7, based on the point system alone. Because on any given week in our league that we play in Ultimate Keeper League, TJ Watt can go off for 30 to 40 points a week.
Easy.
Yeah.
So is it, when a player like that gets hurt, is it harder to kind of then find that fill in?
Not if you look deep out of roster, no. So if TJ Watt gets injured, you're looking at an Alex Highsmith or someone like that to come in and hopefully produce.
Yeah, and you can find people who do the thing that you, and so sacks. So for a sack lead, I'd like to focus on this because this is different than the league I play. The most of the leagues I play, like you said, I play 1.5 tackles. So I drafted a linebacker in the 4th round, and I like to be the first one. I like to get the first linebacker and the second linebacker, and that way. And I don't, of course, this isn't dogmatic, but then you swing back around, and when everyone else is picking up their defensive players, you get some really nice scraps on the wide receiver market for sure. But yeah, I'd like to dive a little bit more into that about what do you do, what to look for a player that you need to replace that has sacks, and what stats do you look at normally to find a player who's going to do that? Because stats are one of the least predictable stats in the NFL. So are you looking at pressure rate, or are you just pulling up like who's going to get me sacks? Are you going more on feel?
I'm going stream. So if you've got players coming up against the Jets or the Titans at the moment, you know someone's going to get a sack. So that's what I purely look like. So if someone gets injured, that's a major part for a major cog in your lineup. Righto, who's there, and who's going to give me the sack this week?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the 5-point sacks, even 1 or 2, and you're good to go. I love it. That seems like a really fun, volatile. Yeah,
it makes your week.
Yeah, for real, absolutely. And when you have your defensive players outscoring running backs, outscoring wide receivers, you can get by with a sneaky bad roster. Like you can throw mine up on the screen right now. My offensive roster is not good, but I'm winning this league, right? Because my defense has just been so consistent, and it's really a fun way to do it because I straight up missed on a lot of. Yeah, sure, I got Kyler Murray, Justin Jefferson. They've been great. I got Alvin Kamara in the 1st round. He's been disappointing, to be honest. And like Henderson, Fant, Edwards-Helaire, like that's an average. Like if this was your offensive roster and this was not an IDP league, this is a 500 team for sure. Right? Like that is that's beating any worlds. But if I have Eric Kendricks, Danielle Hunter, and Darius Leonard on the back end, kind of just evening it out for you. And then, as you say, riding, and as we both say, riding the waivers and streaming correctly is just so important. Because there's so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball. It feels like way more common than the offensive side of the ball for sure.
And here's your defensive players.
Yeah, there's the defense. And I'm a Vikings fan, so it seems like a homer roster, but they just all fell to me. I got Harrison Smith in like the 15th. I got Danielle Hunter in like the 12th. If the value falls to you, you have to take it.
Absolutely, yeah. And if there is a play there that you really want, definitely reach for him because a Devin White or a Roquan Smith, these guys who do rack up the tackles and can get behind the line of scrimmage, they're also players you want on your roster as well. They can make a huge difference weekly. So
absolutely, and you can definitely get away with reaching more in IDP because there's just more buckets that people need to grab out of, right? It's not just all mostly wide receiver and running back with like maybe a little tight end quarterback sprinkled in. It's like, now I need 2 safeties and I need 3 LBs and I need a couple defensive linemen and maybe a D tackle, right? So people have priorities so spread out that you can really get away with reaching. And that's actually what I did this year. I reached really hard. I took the first 2 linebackers. I reached a little hard on Leonard. I was kind of chasing some old glory, and then I came back with Kendricks, and it's been paying off hugely. Both top performers in the league for sure. And that's that. I'm a big fan of reaching on defense for the studs. Absolutely.
But how good is it as well if you do those mixture rosters for fantasy and you start your draft in? It just changes your whole context of the draft as well, because all of a sudden, when's someone going to start to reach? Is someone going to stay, on offense and say, I'm going to stream defense, or, how are they going to do it? So it just changed the complexity of the whole entire draft.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have another one more question for you on this. What's your clock? So that's probably they're almost a 30 round draft. Is that a 28, 29 round draft for you?
They're quite big, our draft. So we have 15 offense, 10 IDP, and the bench is very long. Our rosters are almost 40 spots.
Oh, okay.
In
Yeah,
Tidy,
but
and then we have
it's
3 IR.
okay.
So,
It's Dynasty though, right? Or is that
yeah,
keeper?
yeah,
Oh,
100%.
okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, ours
So,
ours is a redraft, so we have a 30-second clock, so it just flies.
yeah. In regards to clock, yeah, like I think when we first drafted, they were up around the minute. But at the moment, like, no, because everyone's very active in our league. So most picks are done within 10, 15 seconds. And some can drag out to 2 minutes. But yeah, we do our drafts offline and then we upload it.
Oh, cool. You love to see it. Look at you guys. You guys are keeping the dream alive.
Yeah, we're pretty full into it. Our little crew. It's 4 Australians and 4 Canadians that we really rock it together. We do a division. So, yeah. All year round, our WhatsApp group just goes bananas. Like you wake up some mornings, there's 300 new messages just in WhatsApp. So it's pretty full on. Yeah.
Now, are you with IDP? Are you able to do kind of a similar, to all the other drafts? Are you able to do kind of the mock drafts, or is it just too hard to do a mock draft with IDP?
No,
I've never come a mock. No, I don't think. No, never.
Most of the platforms don't support it. Even honestly, I've never played on a platform that supports an IDP mock draft. Have you ever? I mean, Sleeper might, but I've never done.
No, I've never seen one. So that's a good question.
Yeah, and the thing is, and that's actually a good point, and that leads into a nice segue. A lot of the software, like if you're on your Sleeper or you're on your Yahoo or you're on ESPN, it is not set up for IDP. So most people, and no one will admit it, right? Because everyone wants to be cool. But how 90% of the people draft is they got the list up of the X rating, right? And they're like, oh, they scroll up and down it. You will get burned if you try to do that with IDP. You have to have a list. You have to get in there an hour early, and you got to have 30, 40 defensive players in your queue. I don't even put any offensive players in my queue for the draft because it's hard to find them. It's a 30-second clock, and it can be really difficult and that's for redraft leagues. I guess you're just doing rookie drafts, so it's probably a little easier, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that question, kind of on the how do you really decipher these rankings, things like that, for someone who's never done it?
Oh, these ones. I think these are great. Let me see. I don't see anyone that sticks out as crazy. Chandler Jones, I'm not sure I'd put second, but other than that, it looks pretty good to me.
The only reason Chandler Jones is up there is he had that massive, it the first week? He went to five something sacks. So I think that's why he's up there. But yeah, your Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa. Micah Parsons is actually a really interesting one now that they've moved Jalen Smith on. But in rookie drafts, he was quite up there as an early pick anyway. But now he's playing kind of everywhere.
He's great because he's in coverage and he's rushing the passer, so he's going to get tackles. And he's not great in coverage, so he's in IDP if you, for your cornerbacks and your safeties, but definitely your cornerbacks. You kind of want a bad cornerback unless there's a huge what's your interception bonus on your main league?
Whereas we got 6 points for an interception.
That's different. That's different. Yeah, so it's you get 2, so you get 1 for the pass defended and 2 for you get 3 total and 2 for the interception. So that's interesting because the way I play, you want to draft a bad cornerback who's gonna get who still plays. You want the number 2 cornerback on a bad offense or a bad defense.
So
pretty much.
We had that. We did have that, but our foundation members group kind of thought, look, we need to get these guys more involved, so let's boost the stats. Yeah. Because essentially, last year, Buda Baker, Jamal Adams, these were guys that were getting you your tackle stats, and that was it. And everyone else was kind of ruled out. Yeah. So we said, let's get these guys in, boost their points, 6 for an interception, and now we've got cornerback safeties that are all relevant on any given week.
Yeah, and that's good. And you get to play the stars, right? Because because drafting a CB, I just punt on CB. I just I don't even think about it, right? I just pull up, I live streamed my draft, and I was talking about it. I just pulled up whatever, and I was like, oh, who's the number 2 quarterback on the Jets? Oh, it's this guy. All right, cool. You're on the squad. Last pick. Because they're going to get tackles because they're going to get passed all over. And so I like that. I might suggest that. I'm not the commissioner. I play with the. Go ahead.
So kind of what you're saying to kind of summarize, if it's a bad defense, it's okay, because then you're going to be, their defense is going to be on the field more and going to be getting points for you.
Correct. And well, there's exceptions, of course, like TJ Watt as well. But yeah, that's how I like to, not an elite defense isn't on the field enough is usually but I think you might have more to say about that. I pointed the wrong direction because the camera's backwards.
Yeah,
So, hey, Coops, how did you first get into IDP leagues?
I was working at Trader Joe's, and I had a boss who got into it. He's like him and a bunch of, he's this Tongan guy. I don't know if you guys know any Tongan. You might down in Australia, you probably know a little bit of Tongan people.
Yeah, we've got
I live in the Bay Area, so we have a big population, and they were all just these Tongan sports gamblers, pretty much. And they're like, oh, I was like, yeah, I play. I'll put $100 in, and then oh my god, that was probably 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And I've been doing usually two IDP leagues every year since then. This year I cut it down to one because I wanted to do a little more writing, focus on a little more content. But yeah, I that's how I got in. A guy over a produce table I was working was like, oh, hey man, you play football? You play fantasy football? He's like, we play like this. And I was like, all right. How about you?
Yeah, for me, so, I started out purely playing the offensive side of the game. And then I think it was just one day on Red Zone, I happened to tune in, and it was JJ Watt getting sack after sack. And I'm like, how do I get this guy into my lineup, Yeah. And that's when I started to say, oh, you actually can have individual defensive players. So I actually started just a really small league for IDP. And I was woeful at it, and I said, okay, well, I need to get better at that. So with anything in life, you start your research in. I actually found a pretty cool website to go off, which was the IDP guys. And they gave me a lot of my knowledge to better myself, to prepare myself for drafts, actually, through their writers.
Yeah, that's great. And you're writing for them now, correct? Is that a success story?
I am, yeah. I'm actually doing some of the waiver columns for them, for offense, actually.
Nice.
The IDP guys that do the waivers for them are just next level. And I still get a lot of tips from them about who to stream some weeks. Like, I'll give them a list, like, oh, what do you guys think about that? But yeah, they're a really good site, idpguys.org. If you can tune into them, absolutely.
You say that's idpguys.org?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard. I know it's hard to find resources for this type of thing. I had a lot of trouble. I know PFF has done some rankings recently, and there was a couple blogs, and I found like a guy who like gave me a strategy, but it was terrible. So like I pretty much just had to learn through pain. And now I'm pretty good at it though. But I wish I had a little better community actually. So we got idpguys.org. Definitely go check out that writing if you're into this at all. And you should be, because it's truly an enlightened way to play fantasy football.
Well, if you actually really want to expand your horizons on the game and not just look at the offensive side, and like actually look at what happens on the defensive side, because it's just an important part of the game is what the offensive is. So pay some respect, give it a go. Like, have two linebackers or one DE and a defensive back, and try it out and see what your take is on it.
So it's good to kind of just get started somewhere and just kind of get a feel for it.
Yeah, wherever
Absolutely,
you can. Yeah, wherever you can, for sure. And it does help with your knowledge, right? When I first started, it actually did. You heard some of my takes, and some of them sound pretty good. A lot of that originated, especially with my takes on defense, originated from playing IDP. I didn't even know, when I first started, I didn't know the difference between a 3-4 and a 4-3. Right, and then this stuff becomes really this stuff becomes important, and I'm like, oh, this is a zone team, so that, you know what I mean? Like it really does. It'll help launch your knowledge a little bit if you get into it.
So, Con, obviously we have the IDP, and you obviously have offensive players. How does that balance out on your rosters, the offense and the defense?
Yeah, so the league that we're primarily in, it's an IDP league. Make no mistake about it. The offense is there to contribute to part of that. And it took a while for some of the guys to switch on that it was an actual IDP league, but it is. That's where your points and your bread and butter are, and the wide receivers and running backs, they play an integral part, but IDP will win your week.
And so you didn't start that way though. You kind of migrated toward that then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I started with just the offensive side and then started to integrate the defensive side. And then once we all started to get used to it, we just went big and started the Dynasty League from scratch with everything.
Well, yeah,
yeah, that's a big one. I thought I had the biggest IDP league, but I think yours is a little bigger. A couple more roster spots.
I've seen bigger. I think we're just really curious, and I think the best part for me is actually growing the IDP side of the game. So a lot of the guys we do play with now, they didn't have any inkling around the IDP side, but now they do, and they're totally invested in it. They love it.
Once you start, it's hard to go back, and there's a lot of room for it to grow, for sure. There's a lot of room for it to grow.
Well, that's why I'm glad we're doing this, because it's something I've heard about, I've never started, but it has been, honestly, it has been a little bit daunting to kind of look at. I'm like, okay, well, it's almost like I've done fantasy baseball before, and I've tried that, and it just, it's been so engrossing. At least with football, it's a week at a time, but this definitely helps me with like kind of that knowledge of where to start.
Yeah, and you're going to get burned, right? You're the first year you're just going to get burned. Your draft strategy isn't going to be right. You're not going to have enough players like listed, and you're going to pick a couple people, and you might be chasing a name or something like that, which I still do. I drafted Darius Leonard first because I'm a name chaser sometimes. but yeah, it is. The first season is tough. I will say that for sure. The first season is tough, but once you get a taste for it, though, it really does improve your fantasy experience for sure. Because then you can watch both sides of the ball.
Yeah, especially tough when you're playing with guys that do know IDP. You'll get left behind pretty quick.
Well, and speaking of sometimes where people get left behind, are there kind of some parameters like IDP trading? Obviously, some people can kind of win trades, lose trades. And does that happen more in IDP or less? Or
it's about the same. You can go ahead. I'll take it for a second. I'll pass it off to you. It's about the same.
Look, I think with IDP trading, it's the same. Depending on what league format you're in or the scoring settings. Like someone like a TJ Watt can pretty much get you, almost an elite running back, just based on the point scoring. So, especially in dynasty leagues, you can sometimes get some really good draft picks for a linebacker who's consistently going to get you points in that position. So.
Yeah. I would say it's more format dependent than it is IDP dependent, right? Yeah, because in dynasty leagues there's just more trading, right? But in redraft it's about the same. So you just want to know, you just kind of want to know who you're dealing with. Same as any other league. Like, does this person favor defense? Like, there's always holes. There's more holes to fill on everyone's roster. So in a way, you can kind of pick it apart more. But I think it still depends much more on format than it does strictly being IDP or offense only.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this has been fantastic. Obviously, idpguys.org. Are there any other kind of sites that you use for IDP that kind of are helpful? Obviously, there's not as much out there, right?
Just start delving into individual players and their teams or defensive schemes that they play, new offensive or defensive coordinators, what they bring to a franchise. Just start Googling individual players. I just started Googling, top linebackers 2020 or, guys who will perform in 2021 for IDP.
Draft prospects, draft all that stuff. It's much more. And I actually preach this across the board. Which you just said. I do love what you just said. Just Google the players, because if you're chasing fantasy advice, you are chasing what everyone else is chasing, and you're all chasing the same thing, and you all run the same speed. So there's no advantage. So what you want to be chasing is football knowledge that leads to fantasy, right? So if you're chasing the sacks guy, you're going to miss the guy who's been getting 8 pressures a game, but the sacks haven't come yet, but they're coming because that's a predictable outlier, right? So I always preach, and I love fantasy writers. I like them for entertainment, really. But if you're looking for, and I fully encourage, I'm going to check out IDP guys for sure, because that might be something I've been missing in my life. But if you are chasing advice from experts, you are playing a less your results are going to be not as good, I think, because everyone's looking what the expert says. You have to look at it differently. You have to change the angle. You have to look deeper. You have to find the inconsistencies in those experts' advice, or else you're just don't outsource your decision making is what I like to say.
Even look at depth charts. If some guy goes down injured, who's next in line? Google that player, or what were their college stats like? What were they a tackle machine? Did they play 30% on the line, or in the box, or where did they play? It's just depth charts are a very, very easy way to get knowledge around who's next in line.
I love it. I love that advice. Yeah, depth chart, and individual players, and you'll be such a better football fan for it. Honestly, like I said, I didn't know the difference. Now I'm pointing out coverages, and I know quarters and trips, and you know what I mean. It'll help you.
You also, when you look at defensive lines, and you want to stream for a week, you actually start looking at the offensive line as well. Who's the weak part of that offensive line where a player is going to get through and get me that sack. So you start looking at left guard, right guard. It just broadens your horizon on the overall game. It's a great thing to get involved in.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you look at some of the terrible offensive lines, you look at the Bears, and, you can take those cues from, those offensive lines and go ahead and, so would you kind of, there would be players that kind of stream then those weeks?
Yeah, give us a player to stream this week in your format. Give us a player to stream in a 5-sack format.
All right, so I'll go for I'll go. Let's just go the Atlanta Falcons. Any one of their defensive edges. So your Grady Jarrett's. He's coming up against someone quite strong in that offensive line, but there's another player there. I think it's Takarist McKinney.
See, and this is it, because this is not a notable player, because I know Grady Jarrett, and I know zero other people on that defensive line. So this is what he's talking about. How you kind of got to delve, and he's looking at it right now, right? And that's what you got to do. Who's that?
So Dante Fowler. He's one that
I did know him. Yeah,
he's one that's probably going to get into that backfield a lot of weeks. So if I was looking to stream an option, I'll short out my defensive end position. He's probably someone that I'd load up on this week.
Yeah, former Ram who showed a lot in that defense, but has kind of fallen off since he's been to Atlanta. But he will take advantage of a matchup for sure. I do like that. Yeah.
So obviously remiss if I didn't say with your jersey, you're a Giants fan.
No, so I take a whole different outtake on NFL football altogether. I don't specifically follow a team. I follow individual players. So I've got a Devonta Adams jersey and an Antonio Gibson jersey. So I just load up. I've got a Trey Lance jersey on the way. But yeah, I've never actually followed a team. I just enjoy individuals' specific talents and what they're good at. Yeah, these guys are elite humans that.
Yeah. True Aussie, Aussie right there. They love their sport down there. No, I love that. That's kind of where the game is going. I know the NBA is a lot like that right now, where a lot of kids are a fan of a player. Like, I just want to watch Ja Morant. I don't care where he is. That's my team. I'm watching Ja Morant, right? Like, that's kind of the modern approach. Me and him, we're stuck in hell because I'm a Vikings fan. He's a Bears fan. And so if there was a way out, I wish but that door's closed, unfortunately.
Although I do have to give you a hard time, though, Con. Where's your defensive player jersey?
That's a very good point. I'll have to look into that in the near future. I've got a few players in mind. Roquan Smith's one, TJ Watt. But I still have a very fond love of the offensive side of the game and the plays that they do there. But the IDP will grow in the near future.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should see if we can send you a Mac jersey. So
Linval Joseph you look like a Linval Joseph guy.
Anyway. Nice.
I'll take a Mac one.
There you go. Yeah. No one wants a Linval Joseph jersey except for me.
Well, this has been fantastic. Definitely glad to have you on, and we'll kind of respect your time and all the way from Australia. And we'll kind of obviously let you have more family time, and definitely appreciate you coming on. And so you can find you FF_prodigal son on Twitter. You're writing.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow me and follow my waiver columns and my start sits and things like that. And also, the IDP guys as well, highly recommended. They gave me a lot of my knowledge to become or even get involved in IDP. And yeah, look, guys, I'm extremely grateful to come on and very honoured that you've invited me on. So this is my first podcast ever.
Oh, there we go. Couldn't tell at all.
No, you're gonna have
I'm
to.
a very chatty bloke, and I'm happy to give anything a go. So yeah, look, very honoured and very grateful for to come on here today.
Very
lovely. I hope we should do this again sometime for real, because I it's hard to find people who will talk about this.
Please just set your clock to Australian Eastern Standard Time,
and
then
we can
work. Got it figured out now. So thanks again, and we'll let you go, and then we're going to kind of finish up with our preview for the week. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, guys.
Cheers.
Enjoy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow, that was great. That was amazing.
Enlightening for sure. For me as well, because it's such a different format that I even play, and I've been playing for 5 years. So I'd like to hear what else is out there. That's lovely. We gotta move on to a couple of previews, right? Are we talking about some 49ers? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you want to go ahead and start there? Yeah, Niners Cardinals. Obviously this is a huge matchup this week.
Big time.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I cannot wait to watch this game. One, I want to see what Trey Lance has. He's getting the start. Jimmy's out. He was always going to be injured by week 5. So here we are. Right, every friggin' year. I am just excited. Lance did not look particularly ready throwing the ball last week. You could tell that he has only a handful of college games under his belt, right? He very much looked like that. But what I'm most excited to see is that run attack. I think they're going to dismantle the Cardinals defense on the ground, right? Shanahan knows how to run the ball. He knows how to take the defensive eye away from where it's supposed to be. He knows how to make linebackers honor 3 assignments at a time. And now, on top of all of that, that's with Jimmy G handing the ball off. We're a really low threat to run, right? He can, but now we have a 4'3", like 200-something pound guy that you have to also account for, and I just don't see how it's possible for any defense to stop that run game. Now, can he throw the ball? You can't just only run the ball against the Cardinals and win, right? So can they get the ball in the air? Yeah.
So you're thinking Elijah Mitchell then, right there? Or
who's getting the Mitchell or Sermon maybe?
See, that's
I won't play either of them.
No, that's a tough. Yeah, I mean, obviously in Kyle Shanahan, and it's interesting. Arizona is 10th against the run. So, but this early in the season, you just don't know about these stats and like who they're playing. But that is going to be huge. Obviously Arizona is 7th against quarterbacks. I did interview Cardinals guy, and really defensively the Cardinals do have a lot of stars. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're a confusing defense. So I saw Football Outsiders had them ranked number 1 in DVOA, which is like a nice way that they. So I don't buy into that though, fully, because they have.
What's DVOA?
Yeah, it's a way to measure. Oh boy, I should have thought about this before I said it.
That's all right.
It's an advanced analytic statistic in a way to measure what your how your defense is performing outside of the normal metrics. If you guys want more information, look it up. But it's an advanced analytic that it's very fringe, right? Football Outsiders loves to do stuff like this, and it means that they have a lot of players performing above what would be expected in individual situations.
So it's like a baseball war, right? Wins
yes, a little bit. The only issue is the Cardinals are giving up the most points per game in the NFL. So, like they're not the best defense, right? So I don't buy fully into that. They've had a tough schedule. Let me see. So they're number 1 against the run, but let me see. Who did they even get? They got they stopped Henry, which was pretty nice. Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's actually pretty impressive that they're that good against the run, because they've played the Vikings, excellent running football team. Mm-hmm. They've played the Titans, excellent running football team. Mm-hmm. And they've played the Rams as well. Maybe 3 of the top 5 running offenses in the NFL. So that run defense is legit.
It's going to be interesting. Obviously, all the hype's on Arizona now. I mean, the talk wasn't about them, but now they are coming. Oh, yeah. The Niners, this might be a must-win for them. Otherwise, they fall further back into the division, the bottom of the division.
You can't be winning division. You can't be losing division games right now if you're the Niners. I 100% agree. Not in that division.
So for me, I'm looking at obviously the Niners have had some injuries. It really depend on what Trey Lance does. I'm really thinking the Cardinals are going to take this. I'm on the Cardinals bandwagon now. Kyler Murray just he has really kind of taken that MVP leap. And in doing the interview with the Cardinals reporter that I had, he talked about how important it actually and interesting it was for Larry Fitzgerald, to actually take that step back, right?
Yeah.
And because he did that, it actually allowed Kyler Murray to kind of take on the more team leadership.
Oh, interesting. So Fitzgerald didn't. He kind of gave up the locker room, as it were. Is that what we're hearing? That's interesting.
So now it is more of Kyler's team, and now he's proven he can do that. On the other side of the ball, Trey Lance, can he do that?
No, he can't, right? Because Kyler Murray, this is his third year, right? Yeah, that's what we're going into his third year, and he's shown really, really good. Like, I just want to take a moment to compliment the Cardinals for selecting a quarterback in the top. When did they get Rosen? Was it like second or third? It was top 5, right? Selecting Rosen in the top 5 and not being afraid to dip right back in and taking Kyler Murray number 1 overall. That is the kind of balls that gets you from where the Cardinals were to where the Cardinals are, which is the number 1 team in the NFL. And it is, man, is he just taken off. Like, you can't be stopped. He's unstoppable right now. Too quick processing, quick feet, quick release, massive arm for a little dude. It's so weird to see. It looks like the ball it can't possibly be coming out of his arm, and I guess that's the pitcher in him a little bit, right?
Yeah, and obviously it's really and obviously vice versa. He's helped AJ Green kind of come back, and vice versa. AJ Green's second on the team in targets in week 4, at least 6 targets a game. Now
that's huge.
The 49ers do have solid coverage, or they're solid in the coverage, but with all of those offensive weapons, I just really don't see how the Niners can really overcome that.
Yeah, solid is not enough, and because Kyler Murray has played several solid defenses, right? We got Tennessee, solid in coverage. Minnesota, solid in. These are all middle, fantasy wise anyway, middle of the pack, and football honestly too. Those are all like they're fine, right? Jacksonville, no, of course not. They can't cover anybody, but LA Rams can cover a little bit, and we saw what he did to them last week. I had to watch that one on replay, being out of town, but my goodness, what a show! I agree with you. I do not see the only way. It's going to take either a pick six. Because Murray does like to throw at least 1 pick a game. He loves throwing picks. So it's going to take like a pick six or like a punt return for a touchdown. And it's going to take... Shanahan has a unique ability to get... If the Niners can get an edge, right? And this is a strategy that is unique to those running offenses, where if you get an edge, no one in the NFL will put his foot on your throat like Shanahan will. And so the only way I see this going is if they get the only way I see this going the 49ers way is if they get a nice edge on a lucky break or maybe a big play from someone, right? Doesn't matter who. And then Kyler Murray doesn't touch the ball for the rest of the game. That's the only way I see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know what your score is. I'm having Arizona 31-21 in this one.
Yeah, I think 31 might be the floor for Kyler Murray. Right. I would say like maybe even like a 35-24, something like that. Yeah. In there would be safe. I'd love to see the Niners pull this off because I just love the way Shanahan calls his offense, and I'm rooting for Lance, and it's a fun team. I love the Niners, but I don't see. It's possible, but it's gonna be unlikely. That is an uphill battle against that offense. Pretty good defense too. Absolutely. Underrated defense, maybe.
Well, speaking of an uphill battle, the Chiefs have an uphill battle in this season already, and they got another tough one here on Sunday as well versus the Bills.
Yeah, is that in Buffalo?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yep.
No. No, it's in KC. Sorry.
Yeah, it is in KC. Okay, so Kansas City has the advantage there, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, they kind of just have the advantage in any team against any team, right? They've lost a couple of weird ones. Kansas City has, but man, they just have the trump card. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to like. There's a lot of like legitimate analysis that you could do like with matchups, and this Bills defense is playing really well again, which it wasn't last year. It's playing real well. And so you could definitely talk yourself into a Bills victory here, but I can't predict that. They just have the Chiefs has the trump card, right? When you're in trouble, in case of emergency, break glass, and very few teams have that trump card. And it's not always a quarterback, right? This time it's the best quarterback in the NFL, but this is on Sunday night, and that is just going to be a shootout. That's going to be a Rams Chiefs 2018 style blowout. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, the trump card obviously being Patrick Mahomes, and I had the benefit of right before this recording with a Chiefs fan and just talking about the Chiefs and I think that's I talked about how Mahomes has become Jordan, he's become Tiger Woods. You just he's that player that you just expect greatness.
Yeah. I fully expect them to dig their way out of this hole. It's a tough division, though. They're not getting the first seed. That's what they've sacrificed, right? And that may be, the Chiefs may have dug their playoff grave already, because that first seed is worth its weight in gold. That's the only first round bye with the new playoff format, and so I think that's the only thing they've lost, though. I think they're coming back. I think they're making the playoffs, and I think they're making noise. But without that bye, which I think if you drop a couple of quick ones early in the season, that's pretty much it. In a short season like the NFL has, I see them digging out of this. I see them winning this game. I think this is a get-right game for Patrick Mahomes, right? Most teams use bad teams for a get-right game, but I see Patty Mahomes as like this is his get-right game against a really good team that the Bills have. That's going to be hard. They're going to put up points, but...
I tell you what, hearing a lot of people in Kansas City are excited what Josh Gordon brings to them. It's kind of that spark,
about Josh Gordon.
Coming. Obviously, 30-year-old, you don't know what he's gonna bring, but obviously, if you have that threat, that's with Patrick Mahomes, that's huge. I've heard obviously Demarcus Robinson, Pringle. They're not all that good. Mahomes
no, Pringle.
Made them.
Yeah. And who's the other guy? What's his name? Hartman? No. That's
Mecole Hardman. Yeah.
Mecole Hardman. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, Mecole Hardman. None of those players. And we kind of saw that. We saw in the Super Bowl, right? If you can get pressure on Mahomes and you can cover two players, you can cover Tyreek Hill and you can cover Travis Kelce for a couple seconds, you can beat this team. I feel like I know what Josh Gordon's going to do. It's going to be not score very many points and get suspended in a couple weeks. Unfortunately, someone who's struggled with addiction myself, you hate to say it, but I won't believe he's ready to get well until I see it happen for, I don't know, a couple years in a row, right? Where, he blows it every time. He blows it every time. Yeah. I can't believe they keep reinstating him. It's actually crazy that they let him do this to himself over and over again, right?
Obviously, you must be that talented. And, So, speaking of talented, and obviously you have Mahomes, and, being obviously at home is important. I think that is important. This is a huge game. It's week 5, but this is a huge game for the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, that's a must-win.
And I'm going back and forth. I just really like where the Bills are. And granted, they haven't really played anybody, right? But I like where they're at defensively. I like where they're at offensively, other than you can't figure out the running back situation. But I do like what the Bills bring to the table this week.
Yeah, and they've been doing really good against the run as well, which is good, because if you can score points and stop the run, you got yourself a little something cooking. And if it was almost anybody but the Chiefs, I would say there's maybe 2 or 3 teams in the NFL right now that I would pick over the Bills, because Josh Allen hasn't really been the same Josh Allen. and he's good. He hasn't fully regressed to rookie or sophomore Josh Allen, but he regressed to the mean, right? No one's talking about Josh Allen as an MVP candidate. He's just like he's been a good quarterback who can make some high variance plays. And I'm getting warmed up. I got my tracksuit on. Give me another 5, 6, 10 weeks, and I'll be taking that victory lap. I'm calling the Josh Allen regression, but this is a game where Josh Allen is going to need to rise up if they're going to win. And this is like, okay, now is where, because we've seen Josh Allen underperform in the playoffs and leave a little. I mean, last year it's hard to fault him for anything because it was a magical ride. Like that was an incredible run. But we've seen him 2-3 years in a row kind of just leave a little on the table in the playoffs and in big games. And so I'm looking for him to step up here. This is where you prove yourself. This is a beatable defense. Beat him.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was, on Chicago Sports Radio, I heard this that the Chiefs are, top. Their offense is tops in the league of yards per play. Their defense is the worst in the league. It's the exact same amount. They're giving up. So basically, the comment was the Chiefs' defense is making all of the other offenses look like the Chiefs' offense.
That's funny because they kind of are, right? You see Diggs having a massive game. I'm not starting Beasley though. I could be convinced to.
And Emmanuel Sanders has come on as well.
Yeah, he's a good receiver. He's a really good receiver. I'm pretty much starting. I mean, you can start every single from Zach Moss, Josh Allen. You could start all 3 wide receivers. You could start Beasley, Sanders, and Diggs. I mean, Beasley and Sanders, keep them in your flex, your wide receiver 3.
Right.
But I'm go on Moss. I'm a go on. Obviously, you starting Diggs every week, and you're starting Josh Allen every week. On the other side, I have a couple questions though. Like, are you starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I am. Only if I need to, right? He's done better, and obviously it's helped to have Darrell Williams there, the 1-2 punch. I think that's helped. Only if I have to. That's
Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Chuba Hubbard.
Oh, I'd go with Chuba.
You go with Chuba. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
And is that a matchup because it's against Philadelphia?
That's a big part of it, and you just think, it's going to be a shootout, right? And it's
a good point.
Is Edwards-Helaire, is he kind of more that grinded out in the the wintertime, late season kind of thing, which is so interesting because last year he didn't. He didn't get very few touchdowns.
He didn't do nothing at all, pretty much the whole season. He's not really a touchdown guy. What Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get you is someone who's going to, like you said, run between the tackles a little bit, and he's going to be the underneath guy. So teams do this thing where they just have 2 safeties sitting back, and they're rushing 4 against Pat Mahomes. And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have showed that they're willing to adjust their game plan and be like, okay, we'll take small bites. We'll take them all day. No problem. We'll play the Tom Brady game, right? And so that's where your Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to come in. So that's an interesting point, and I think I'm going to switch a lineup right now because of it.
So are you going to start him then?
I'm going to start Chuba. Yeah, and this is my flex, by the way. So this is not wide receiver 1 or 2. This is the flex between Chuba and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Gainwell in there too, but no, come on.
It's so tough because, obviously, even his rookie year last year, right, with Edwards-Helaire, he was everyone was salivating over him because he's in that offense. Yeah. And that can, I think, really be a mirage, right? Just because they're in a high-powered offense doesn't mean he's going to be the focal point. And, with the Panthers, they may need, Chuba to kind of really be a focal point. And obviously that'll be interesting. That's a good question, those two. So
yeah, I agree with it, and I see and I usually go with the talent on those as a personal choice. And like we were talking about in our IDP discussion, I don't like to use the start sit tool. I don't like to
yes.
find someone on Twitter to just tell me what to do, because then you're just outsourcing the blame, right?
right.
So
yeah, don't blame me next week.
Yeah, exactly. No, you gave me Chris Boyd last week, so that's fine.
Tyler Boyd,
or Tyler Boyd, sorry, yeah. But yeah, so I like that because I do see it being a shootout, and I do, and the Panthers do rely on the run. Let's see if I can find another one. I don't have any other ones, but let me see.
Yeah, with
Never mind, it's too late.
No, yeah, with this, I actually see I have the Bills winning 35-21 here. I see Zach 21. Moss getting 2 TDs. I see the Bills defense clamping down a little bit on obviously Hill's going to get his, but I just sure. I feel like this is a Bills game. They almost need it for validation, I guess.
Wow, and that would be a huge blow to have a was that over a 7-point? What did you say? To 31-21? Was it
35-21?
35-21, a 14-point loss, and to go to a 2 games below 500 for the Chiefs would be oh no, they're 2-2 now, aren't they? Sorry.
Yeah, but it would be
a blow though, right? That's what does that mean for their season then? Then you're really paying catch up. You're looking at maybe with the Browns cooking the way they are with other good, and that whole division's cooking. That's a good division, right?
It is.
They're looking at a wild card spot if they lose this game. I feel like at best, but we'll see. That would be interesting. I see it being closer. They don't. The Bills don't have a great pass rush, and so that's one thing. That's part of the equation. Like they have they can cover. They can cover Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce for a couple seconds better than most teams could, I think. So they have that part of the equation. Can they get to Patrick Mahomes in time though? It is another one, because if he has time, I see him probably putting up. I mean, it's not often that he's going to. How many points did they score last week? It wasn't too bad, was it? It was sorry.
No, so it's interesting you kind of say that, and I don't know if anybody can really get to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, obviously, if they do, then he's got the big long loss because he's running around and whatnot, and I think it's just really almost it's like throwing their timing off, and the way. I just see the way the Bills defense is playing. I see that being a possibility. Obviously, I think you're talking me into in my mind that, the Chiefs are going to score their points.
They have not scored less than 24 points this season, the Chiefs. Okay. And they've only scored less than 30 once.
What defenses have they faced? Have they faced?
That's a good point. They faced Cleveland. Yeah. They put up 33 on Cleveland. They put up 35 on Baltimore. 24 on LA, who has a really better defense than I was expecting. The LA Chargers, and then they put up 42 on Philadelphia. Whatever.
Right.
But so I would say maybe if the Bills squeeze this out, and it would be interesting if it were kind of a grinded out game. It's going to be less than a touchdown, I think. I could see it end up being a grindy game where it's like 24-23 or 24-21, that type of thing. But in my head, I'm thinking 35-31 Chiefs is the number that's coming to mind for me. That'll be interesting. Must watch. That's just must watch TV. It's going to be incredible.
Absolutely, and obviously on Twitter, it's going to be on fire as well.
Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, the debates. Oh my God, the Josh Allen, almost as controversial as the Kirk Cousins debates on Twitter.
So if Josh Allen doesn't win this, that validates your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, that in my opinion being, I guess, to make it clear that he's not as good as he was last year. That's just not the quarterback you're getting, and if they paid him like that, that's going to be an issue coming forward. We've seen this happen a couple times where a quarterback gets paid, the offensive line starts eroding. We've been over this in previous episodes, but if I see Josh Allen as a good quarterback. Good quarterback with a lot of upside on any given day, right? Gives you a chance any day. Any play, right. He can make a play. Any game, he can win a game for you. So that's a rare talent, but it's so volatile that in the long run, it's going to end up having him be in between good and great quarterback. which is not who you want to be paying, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, this has been obviously a great episode on IDP. Our guest was, at FF_prodigal son.
That's
on
a tough
Twitter.
one. That's a tough one. The underscores.
Yeah. And glad to have you back, sir.
Oh, it's been a pleasure to be back. Yes. Thank you for beating me so thoroughly last week in our Dynasty League. Even though you gave me advice that helped and beat me, which is especially fun.
Gotta love it.
And it's great to be back. You can find me at Uneducated Takes on Twitter. I got a new little writing gig. Nothing special. Pretty much the basement of sports writing, but it's pretty fun. I'll be doing a little blogging for an English, British-based blog, which is in my unprofessional opinion. They do everything, right? And so they have all sports. They do a lot of soccer, golf, tennis. So I'm going to be doing NFL writing for them. Check it out. It's just a fun, low-key, like simple read website for sure.
Very cool. Well, hey, if you're in the basement, at least you're in the house, right?
There we go. Not outside. Awesome.
So, well, thanks again, and good luck this weekend, my friend.
Yeah, you as well. Good luck out there, everyone. Adios, y'all.